Waiting for the recording to start, then we'll start. Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to today's session. And in today's session we are going to look into the session state. And what is the session state? Session state is a technique of managing the state on the server side. So we in the previous class we understood the problem of the state, how to maintain that state in case of a web application. In case of a desktop application, managing state is not at all a problem, but in case of a web application, every request that comes in, it will come as a independent, so it will not have any connection with the other requests. So managing state is a challenging thing. So we will look into the session state. When we create the session state, each of the user who are connected to the web server. In this example, you can see we have three user sessions, X, Y, and Z. And for those user sessions, we have a separate on the memory. We have all the information stored. Whatever is the state. In this example, there is a shopping cart example. It could be any kind of a variable that is associated with each of the user session that will be in the memory. Also, to make the um, uh, 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 the data persistent, we can have serialize that data, and we can store it in the server disk. So this is the it will persist. Okay, if you want for a longer persistence beyond the user session, that also possible. Now once we have these sessions, we can easily understand what is the changes in the state. For example, changes in the shopping cart, and accordingly whatever the user actions we get, we can server can provide a appropriate response. All modern web development environments provide some type of a session state mechanism. Session state is a server-based state mechanism that lets web applications store and retrieve objects of any type of for each unique user session. So here one advantage compared to the other, like we saw earlier, cookies for maintaining the state. The relation is like it is a key and a value pair. But in case of a session, we can also store the objects. So this mechanism, serialization, we talked about in the previous class. We can use serialization and deserialization to convert an object into binary string and store it. And whenever it is required, whenever make a user makes another session, whenever he comes back, then deserialize and get the object and the state. Session state is ideal for storing more complex objects or data structures. So as I told, cookies, it's just a key and a value pair. But in case of a session state, we can have store any kind of a complex objects. Whatever the objects you have, you can serialize, you can store it. Any kind of a object can be easily stored. Similarly, any kind of a data structures which are associated with the users can be managed. In PHP, session state is available via this variable $_session. It is very similar to the other super globals we talked about, $_get, $_put, then $_server. There were many super global variables we saw. It will work in a similar fashion. And we must use this session_start in order to enable the sessions for the users. This is the example of accessing a session state. So this is the PHP code, session_start. You call that particular method, and here you are checking whether the session state is set or not. So is set $_session and user. Excuse me, user. This is the key that you are going to check whether this user session is available or not. And if this returns true, then you will say user is logged in. If you don't find this one, user has not logged in. So you can use it as a like a guest login. If you can identify if this session state is set, then you can identify the user and you can log him in. Otherwise you can log him as a guest. Then session state, checking session state existence. Here PHP code we have beginning and the ending. We have included a class file, the PHP file having a class shopping cart. Then session underscore start. Then we are checking whether that session object is created or not using eset method. Eset dollar underscore session cart. So if it returns true, then this will become false. Okay, it will not go into the true block. It will come here. Dollar cart is equal to dollar underscore session cart. It will get the session object, and that session object will be assigned to the dollar cart. In dollar cart, now I have the current state of the user. Let us say that session object is not set, then it will come, this will return is set, it will return false, complemented, it will become true, it will come here. Then you are going to set that particular session variable as dollar underscore session cart is equal to new shopping cart. Okay, so we have that class here. We are going to create a new object of the shopping cart, and we are going to assign it to that particular session object. So how does the session work? So you can see sessions in PHP are identified with the unique 32-byte session ID. So every the session is identified by this unique number, which is 32-byte session ID. So you can see here session ID is equal to this. This is how it will get identified on the server memory. So we have, you can see here shopping cart of many users, and each of them are having a separate session ID. This is transmitted back and forth between the user and the server via session cookies. Using the session cookies, this particular ID is transferred, and using that session ID, we can identify the object on the server side, and we can find the what is the current state. For brand new sessions, PHP assigns an initially empty dictionary style collection that can be used to hold any state values for the session. So if initially it will assign it a empty dictionary style collection, then later that will be used. When the request processing is finished, the session state is saved to some type of a state storage mechanism called the session state provider. So once the session is complete, it will be stored. So the storage mechanism will depend on what kind of application, how you want to do that. When a new request is received for an already existing session, the session's dictionary collection is filled with the previously saved sessions data from the session state provider. So if there is a new request comes, and if it is already session is created for that, from the dictionary collection, it will have all the previously stored session data. From matching the session ID, it will get all the relevant data for that particular user. It is possible to configure many aspects of a sessions, including where the session files are saved. So that is the configuration part, where you want to store the session files, and that can be configured on the server side. The decision to save sessions to files rather than in memory addresses the issue of memory usage that can occur on a shared host, as well as the persistence between restarts. So the decision to keep that on memory, or to keep it on the files, it depends on the how the how you want to implement that one. And whenever it is on the memory, if the session is only on the memory, there is a risk whenever there is a restart or anything, that particular data will be lost. And if it is stored in the file, that would be much easier. Even if there is any restart or anything happens, you can retrieve the information from the saved files. Inexpensive web host may sometimes stuff hundreds or even thousands of sites on each machine. Server memory may be storing not only the session information but the page being executed and caching information. So apart from that, there would be many other information that would be stored, maybe there is a caching as well. We'll see what is a caching in the later section today. This is how the session storage can be. This is the server memory. Then you can see this is a particular web application. Maybe on this particular server there are many applications are hosted. This is PHP site, AAA PHP site, BBP. This is just an example where you can see the session objects. Higher volume web application often run in an environment in which multiple web servers, also called as web farm, are servicing the request. So in most of the real world applications, we will not be having just one server. There will be, we talked about the web farm in earlier discussion when we started with this web technology subject. Web farm, instead of having one server, there will be multiple servers. They will be taking the request. We will be having the load balancer, and load balancer will see which server is relatively less loaded. It will route that particular request to that server, and that server will send the response back. In such situations, the in-process session state will not work, since one server may service one request for a particular session, and then completely different server may service the next request for the that session. So if you have like an in-process session, and if you have multiple web servers, there is a chance that whichever like if there are multiple requests from the user, those requests will not be handled by one server, so it will be handled by the multiple server. That is how we will be losing the state, session state. This is the example. We have the user request. Two requests are coming from the user. We have the load balancer. What is the load balancer? Load balancer will identify which one out of these web farm, like in this particular web farm we have 4 web servers which can take request and give a response. It will check which one is less loaded, and it will route that request to the different servers. For example, you can see the request 1 is routed to this server, request 2 is routed to this particular server. There are effectively two categories of solution to this problem. So now the session that is maintained in this server, if the request goes to this particular server, now what I have the session state is here. Okay, now when it request goes to here, the session state is available here, so it will not be knowing the current session state. So this is a kind of a problem. We are not able to handle the particular session. So there can be two types of a solution we can have. One is configure the load balancer to be session aware. So the load balancer should be session aware and relate all requests using session to the same server. If the load balancer is session aware, suppose if it is aware that there is a session for this particular user and that session is available on this server, then it will route all the requests to this particular server, because it is session aware. It knows where that particular session state is available, and it will route that request, all the request from that user to the particular server. That is a one kind of a solution. And second solution is what? Use a shared location to store the sessions. Means what? These servers will have some shared location. They will store the sessions there. So whenever they want to check the session, they will access the same shared location. That is how, irrespective which server takes the request, it will be going to accessing the same shared session, either in a database, memcache, or some other shared session state mechanism. So these are the different options. How you want to implement that is up to the application, but we can have a shared location to store the sessions, either on a database, or we can use a memcache, or some kind of a other mechanism we can use. So you can see this is the example. load balancer, and it will route the request to these servers, and all sessions stored on the session server. I have a shared session server, and all these web servers will interact with this shared session server, and it will get the state of the session. This is a shared location configuration in php.ini file. So this is how we can configure. You can see session dot save underscore handler is a memcache. We are going to use the memcache, and this is the path. Session dot save underscore path is TCP colon forward slash session server, and the you are giving the what port it is going to be. HTML5 web storage. This is the web storage is a new JavaScript only API introduced in HTML 5.4. It is meant to be a replacement or perhaps supplement to the cookies in the web storage is managed by the browser. So it is very similar to the cookies. It is like a replacement for the cookies, and it is completely managed by the browser. Similarly, browser manages the cookies, right? It will create the files, and it will save those cookies, and it will associate those files with the domain server. Similarly, the web storage is also managed by the browser. Unlike cookies, web storage data is not transported and from the server with every request and response. So unlike cookies, in case of a web storage, if you remember, in cookies, with every request that is going to the server, the cookie information will be sent to the server, and whenever it gets that information, it will get updated on the browser side. In addition, web storage is not limited to the size 4K size barriers of a cookies. In case of a cookies, we have a limitation that we cannot go beyond the this much 4 kilobytes of data. That limitation is removed with the web storage. Just as there were two types of cookies, there are two types of a global web storage. Similar to cookies, we had two types of cookies. One was session, and one is persistent. Session will it will get removed once the session closes. Persistent, it will be available until the expiry date. Similar to that, we have two types in case of a web storage. One is called as a local storage, and the second is the session storage. The local storage object is for saving the information that will persist between browser sessions. So it will persist between browser sessions. The session storage object is for information that will be lost once the browser session is finished. So this is like a session only for that particular session, and this is between the browser sessions. So this persistency of this one is longer than compared to this one. Using web storage, JavaScript code for writing information to web storage. So this is how we are going to write it into the web storage. We have the form, the beginning of the form and the closing of the form. And then I have a header, okay, web storage writer. Then I have the script from the beginning of the JavaScript. This is the end of the scripting. Language JavaScript, and type you specify. If type of local storage equals undefined, or type of a session storage, it is undefined. Alert web storage is not supported on the browser. Okay, so if the browser doesn't support the web storage, then we get the alert. Otherwise, we see session storage dot set item. This is how we are going to set the web storage, today's date and new date. So for today's date as a key, I will have a current date object as the mapping value. Then session dot storage dot favorite artist is equal to Matisse. So you are setting some kind of a value. Local storage. So this is the session storage we are setting. Okay, here we have a key value pair is there, and here we have a favorite artist that is set with this value. and username as a set. It is set as a local storage. So this particular username will be there only for the session. However, these things will persist. Then document dot write web storage modified. So the information is modified. Okay, this is the same example, little bit extension. We are just writing it on the page. Document dot write date saved today. Okay, then uh, uh, that today is getting from the session. So you can say today variable today. The rest of the code is same. Only this part is changed. We have a one JavaScript variable today. Session dot storage get item. So in the previous example, we had set the web storage. Now we are getting today's date. So it will get the new date object, and artist is equal to session storage dot favorite artist. So these two values will be stored in this respective variables. User is equal to local storage username. So here we have set local storage dot username as this. That Ricardo will be saved into user. Then you are going to write it into the browser. Date saved, today's date will come. Then favorite artist, this name will come, and username, this name will come. Using web storage, a better way to think about the web storage is not as a cookie replacement, but as a local cache for relatively static items available to the JavaScript. So we can think this web storage as a local cache, okay, that is present on the browser side. One practical use of the web storage is store static content downloaded asynchronously, such as XML or the JSON from the web service in web storage, thus reducing the server load for subsequent request by the session. So one way of using is this one. We can download asynchronously information, some kind of a XML information or some kind of a JSON information from web services. Okay, those web services, that data will be can be stored so that we can avoid some of the server request. Using web storage, user requests a page. Okay, then XML is retrieved from so you can see here XML is retrieved from some kind of a REST web service. Okay, this is the web service server, so that is getting this information. XML saved in browser's web storage. So when it gets this information, JavaScript, it is getting from some kind of a web service it has. So it will call that web service and it will get the XML file, and XML file is stored in the web storage. So it is in the web storage, and once it is stored in the web storage, then user will request a related PHP code. When he requests the related PHP code, then we can retrieve the data from this XML. So XML retrieved from the browser's web page, and it will be displayed, and the browser displays the XML data, saving a second request to the web service. So whatever the request that goes to the web server, that will be stored here, and when certain page is related page is requested by the user, instead of making a web service request, we can get that particular data from the web storage. So it is working like a local cache. So we have a local cache here, and I can, if this data is available here, I am going to get directly from here. Otherwise, I am going to make the web service request. Caching is some of the information. What is caching is some of the information or some of the pages. Okay, some of the data, they are requested repeatedly, right? Whenever there is a certain type of a request that are coming repeatedly, instead of making a trip to the server every time we get a similar request, instead of making a trip to the server, if we can cache that information, okay, if we can cache that information, that will help with the processing time, in reducing the processing time, and it will improve the performance of the application. That is how the caching is useful. Every time PHP is requested, it must be fetched, parsed, and executed by the PHP engine. For typical PHP page, this might also involve numerous database queries and processing to build. So, if every time we are requesting a PHP page, or it goes through all this phase, like it will be parsed, executed, and if there are any database function, database connections to be made to fetch the data from the database, or any file manipulations are required. All those things has to be done every time the same page is requested. If this page is being served thousands of times per second, the dynamic generation of the page may become unsustainable. Just assume that the same page is being requested thousands of times per second. Okay, then all this processing is done every time we request that. So it is a wastage of the resources. One way to address this problem is to cache. Okay, cache the generated markup in the server memory. So whatever the markup that is created by the PHP, we can cache that information and store it in the server memory. And whenever there is a subsequent request, similar request, instead of doing fetching the PHP again, then parsing, executing, doing all those actions, we can directly give the markup which was created in the previous instance. So subsequent requests can be served from the memory rather than from the execution of the page. Page out caching. In this type of caching, the content of the rendered PHP page or just part of it are written to disk for the fast retrieval. So this is like in this type of a caching, content of the rendered PHP page. Maybe it is a partial page or the full page, depending upon what kind of application. It can be saved on the disk, and upon subsequent request, we can get the same, and we can give it as a response. So page out caching, you can see here 3 users they are making the same request, index.php, index.php. Similar pages are being requested by the server. Now on the server, we have to check, is the cached index.php recent enough? Means whatever the cache we have done for this particular page output, whether it is recent enough, because we don't want to take the output of a very old execution. If it is a recent, again the recent has to be defined for every application. Recent means maybe couple of seconds or maybe couple of hours. It depends on what kind of application. If it is recent, the answer is yes. Then what we will do is we will retrieve the markup of index.php from the disk. Okay, and that markup will be sent as a response to the browser. So it will send back to the browser. If it is not recent, so answer is, if is the cached index.php recent enough? No, means it is not recent. Then you will go the other route. So execute index.php. Then it might, this particular PHP might interact with the DBMS. It might call some of the web services, whatever it does. Then whatever the markup is created, when it generates the markup, that markup is saved to the disk, one copy, and it is sent back to the browser. When we keep this copy on the disk, so it becomes the most recent markup. So let us say there is one more request coming in again, then that will be served from this. For example, let us say this, I get the request from this user. Let us say it is not recent enough. We compile it, then markup is given to this particular browser and also saved on the disk. Now I get this request. Now I'm going to check, is it recent? Yes, answer is yes. So instead of doing all these things directly from the disk, I am going to send back that markup to the browser. Similar in this case also, yes, we have the most recent, and that is how we will get that markup from the cache instead of processing it from the scratch. application data caching. So we talked about the page caching. Now, similar to that, we can do the data caching also. So in some of the queries, most probably in the case of a database queries, there will be some kind of a caching provided. So when there is a similar kind of a queries that are coming in, then we store that those results in a cache. So whenever we have a similar query, instead of executing the query, we will get it from the cache and we will send the response. Many sites customize the content on the each page for the each user. So full or partial page caching may not always be possible. So whatever the earlier scenario we saw, page caching, that may not be we don't have the static kind of a pages. Our pages are very dynamic. So getting a similar kind of a request, okay, is very difficult unless your application is like 90% or 50% static. So maybe that technique can be used. If the pages are dynamic, if the data kind of a data we are getting is changing dynamically, then we can use the alternate strategy, that is use the application data caching, in which the page will programmatically place commonly used collections of data into cache memory, and then other pages that also need similar kind of a data can take from that particular cache rather than retrieving it from the original sources of that particular data. So this is the example. You can see here, create a memory cache. Dollar memcache is equal to new memcache. So we create the memory cache and memory cache connect. So this is the local host, and we have this port. If this is not successful, if you are not able to create the cache, then the application will fail, could not connect to the memcache server. Then dollar cache key, I have this variable. I'm storing top countries as this string is stored in dollar cache key. Then if cache data exists, retrieve it. Otherwise, generate the cache for the next time. Now we have here dollar memcache. Then we are calling get method on this object. Get dollar cache key. If this is a false, okay, if this is false, then it will become true. That means it is not set. We are going to set that cache. You can see here, first get collection from the database, dollar cgate is equal to new country table gateway. So this kind of some kind of a class that is created, and I am passing the DB database adapter. Maybe this is for the connection. This has the this object is related for getting the data from some source. That object is created and that object is assigned to the cgate. Then on cgate, on this object, I'm going to call the method get most popular. So let us say this particular method, it uses all the database adapter and get connects to the database, and it retrieves the data, and that retrieved data is stored in the dollar countries. Now the dollar countries has a data that is stored, okay, and what data it has, it has got a most popular cities or whatever the information it is there, that will be stored in the dollar countries. Then dollar memcache, once I have this data, dollar memcache set, I am going to set the dollar cache key. And what is the dollar cache key? Top countries. Top countries is the key, and what values will be stored here? The countries. So this countries could be an multi-dimensional array. If it is a like a city information, then maybe it is a like a two-dimensional array. That array is mapped to this particular cache, okay, that map to this particular key. And what is the name of the key? Top countries. And how long it will last? It will last for 240 seconds. After 240 seconds it will expire, okay. And if I get any queries before 240 seconds, let us additional queries, then we have already set that and we are going to use it. So then we are going to display the country list, and the countries lists are displayed. Now let us assume that first request came in and already this cache has been set with this particular data. Now a second time the request will come, the code will come like this, dollar cache key is top countries and is set, it is a true. Okay, if it is a true, then this is a false, then it will not come inside. We are not going to make a database connection and retrieve the data again. So if it is false, it will directly come here. What we are doing, display country list. So now instead of making another request for the data, directly I am putting it from the cache. What is this? Dollar countries. The dollar countries, it is the cache that we have, that will be directly displayed.